Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this extremely easy vertical ombre stripe. As always, I'll make sure to post all the items that I used today down in the description box below, so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more vlogs, tips, tutorials, all kinds of stuff I have coming your way. So let's wake up, prep those tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. Now I'm starting out on a tumbler that I've already prepped and primed and painted, and I am doing a navy type of color scheme, so that's why I painted it navy. But whatever color you guys use, make sure that you prime your tumbler in that fashion. Now, I kind of like to let my tumblers sit overnight before I do anything on them, just to make sure that my paint is nice and dry, but you guys can do it any way you'd like. It typically takes about 30 minutes to maybe an hour, really depending on your environment as to how long that paint takes to dry. So you guys know that all tumblers are different. So no matter what kind of tumbler you're working on, you want to make sure that you measure around it and figure out what kind of width you would like your ombre or your stripes to be completely around your tumbler. And I figured out that a 2-inch stripe would be really great to go all the way around my tumbler. And I'm actually using my 2-inch tape to make the template to be able to do that ombre completely around. Now, the reason why I'm making a template is because I want to make sure that my stripes are somewhat uniform in their width. So that's the whole reason why I'm doing this template with my tape. And I'm just using a basic pencil. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a sparkly pencil. Whatever pencil you have on hand does not matter. Now, this tumbler that I'm using has a little bit of a taper at the bottom. And I'm just going to use my measuring tape to kind of make a nice straight line from the top to the bottom to kind of make sure that it is nice and straight. Here in a second, you'll see that I didn't make it very straight. So then I ended up turning it to the side and fixed it there we go. See, now it's going to be nice and straight. See guys, I'm just saying. But anyways, the whole reason why I didn't make a little stripe at the bottom to make sure that it could connect down to the bottom to make a perfectly straight line was because of that taper. And I'm just using my guideline here as kind of visual as to making sure that it's somewhat straight as possible because of that taper at the bottom, which most of us work on tumblers that are tapered at the bottom. So that's why I try to make sure that I use tumblers that are tapered so that you guys can see exactly how to design them. All right, now that my lines are all done, now we're going to take our epoxy, which I really, really love, Alumilite's Amazing Clear Cast line. I am using their Quick Coat epoxy, which dries really, really fast. And I know there's a lot in my cup right now. That's because I have some other tumblers I got to do as well. But I am literally just using a little dab of this epoxy. I'm just going to do a couple little dabs, see? I'm just a little dab, and then you just want to push it completely around your tumbler. You just want a very tiny amount when you go to apply your glitter. Now, the reason why we're using such a tiny amount of epoxy is because once we apply that glitter, it's really going to make the glitter kind of stand up and really sparkle for you once you go to apply that second coat of epoxy over top of your raw glitter, which I'll show you guys here in a second. But that's why we only use just a super tiny amount for this round, so that way that glitter really has as much sparkle as possible once we go to apply it. Now that we have our epoxy applied, I'm going to go ahead and take off my gloves, and I'm going to show you the glitters that I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using Haze, which is a silver bluish metallic color, and I'm going to also be using Sapphire, which is a deep navy blue metallic as well. And those are from my glitter shop, socglitters.com, but you guys can obviously use any type of glitters you already have on hand, and you can obviously use any color scheme you would like for this design. Now, I can see it, but I know you guys probably can't, but I can see where my pencil lines are. So I'm just going to follow my pencil lines. I'm going to start with my Sapphire first, And I'm just going to go completely down that tumbler, just making my stripes. And as you can see, there's a little bit that kind of shifts off to either side, and that's completely okay. And I'm going to make sure to remember to skip over every other one so that way I make that ombre stripe look. Now, as you may have noticed, I'm using the shaker side of my shakers here, so that way it kind of disperses equally around that tumbler. And I'm not too worried this round as to how much coverage I get. I'm just kind of making a template as I go. And I'm not worried about the bottom as well, because we will make sure that we come through and we'll make sure we hit up the bottom too. Now I'm going to go ahead and shake that off. I'm going to tap it off really good. And then I'm going to go ahead and put another piece of paper down, and we're going to move on to that haze. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I wanted to make sure that I did this all in real time. This is all in real time. I didn't speed this up or anything. I wanted you guys to see how quick and how fast it was, and how easy it is, because I know you guys got this. Now again, I'm just using my shaker side, and I'm just going in between that sapphire all the way around, just shaking it on and making sure that I kind of make an ombre effect onto each side, and just kind of hitting up the bottom just a little bit as I go, because it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'll show you guys here in a second. Now, once I am done adding my haze completely around, I'm going to go ahead and just shake just a little bit onto the bottom. Then after I shake just a little bit onto the bottom, because we want to add a little bit of sapphire in there as well to kind of make it look mixed, I'm just going to come through and really load up my haze. Just really pile it on straight down the middle. It will obviously blend over into the sapphire all on its own because you're using the shaker side. Then you're going to take your paper, move that off to the side, because we don't want to mix that. You know, we want to save that. We save our glitters, right? Then I'm going to take my sapphire, and I'm going to finish loading up the bottom. I'm going to completely load that up on the bottom, making sure it looks mixed. Then I'm going to come through and I'm going to load it up just like I did with the haze, completely loading it up and making sure that it dips over on each side equally and shaking it off really well as I go. Now, once I completely load this up with my glitter, I'm just going to let that hang dry for the recommended time that your epoxy allows. So what am I using? I'm using the quick coat, and I think I was able to apply another coat of epoxy right over top of this after about 4 hours. So again, depending on what kind of epoxy that you use, you want to make sure that's when you apply your second coat. Now it is time to apply that second coat of epoxy right over top of your raw glitter. And before I do that, I make sure that there is no glitters that are going to come off of my tumbler. So I kind of brush it off a little bit with my chip brush, and then I apply my 2x Ultra by Rust-Oleum. And I like to take my glove and make sure, just kind of rub it over it. And if any glitters come off, you want to go out and make sure that you apply another coat of your clear gloss. But if not, you just want to go ahead and move on to your epoxy. Now, because these glitters were kind of monochromatic and kind of formed with each other, it was okay if a little bit of glitters came off on my glove, but you definitely don't want too much glitter coming off on your glove. So you want to make sure that it's fully coated and make sure nothing shifts around when you go to do that, so that way your ombre stays as pure as possible. Now, once I have that on my turner, I'm going to go ahead and hit it up really good with my torch, because this is the time that any of those little micro bubbles will rise up from underneath those glitters and make themselves visible. So that torch kind of really helps out with that whole process, although so does the Rust-Oleum. Now, this part is completely optional. You can decorate your tumbler in any fashion you would like. Obviously, there is no right or wrong when it comes to making art, but I'm going to kind of show you guys exactly how I decorated mine, just in case you would like to know. Now, because I'm just working with basic vinyl, I'm going to go ahead and do up my rim here, and if it needs to be sanded, I'm going to go ahead and sand it now. But because it didn't really need to be sanded, I did a pretty good job at coating my epoxy over top of the raw glitter. It doesn't really need another coat, but you want to make sure that your epoxy is as smooth as possible before you apply your decals. Now, these decals here I made myself. They're just basic triangles. I did an outline of them. I sliced the image out, and then I stacked them one on top of each other, and I just made sure that they were the proper width and height that I needed for my particular tumbler. And that's all you want to do, in case you guys wanted to know. Now, all I did was I just made sure that I kind of wanted them going up and then going down the opposite way of each other, if you guys know what I mean. You'll see here in a second. Anyways. But I'm just gonna simply apply them to my tumbler. Then I'm gonna come through and apply the second one here, and you'll see exactly what I mean by that. I kind of flipped it upside down and I just twisted it, and I just made sure that it was the opposite direction because that's kind of the look that I was going for. But it is completely okay to kind of come up with abstract ideas and abstract designs to be able to put on your tumblers. I don't want you guys to think that you need to do exactly what I show you or exactly what you see other people doing. You don't need to do that, okay? You just come up with an idea, come up with a design. What do you think other people will like? Do Google searches on what color schemes go together. That's basically what I did with this. I did a Google search for what goes good with navy, and I seen that hot pink or pinks kind of go with navy. You know, yellow or mustard yellows also go with navies. So I was kind of torn between like a gold and this pink, and I chose the pink in the end. But no matter what you guys do, it's going to be completely amazing. And again, I know you guys got this. All right, I have my decals applied, and I made sure to kind of warm it up with my hands just to make sure that all those edges were nice and flat against my tumbler. I'm going to go ahead and give it 2 last finishing coats of epoxy, and she is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.